Hey everybody, it's been a while since I've recorded anything for the XR200. I've been distracted with other projects, but you can see the motor is pretty well put together. There's some area I have adjustments that need to be done. I need to put the pulsar in, and I'll make a video when I put that together. But I've been working on the wheels lately, and what I noticed is right in the groove, the bead where the tire is going to go, because of how old this bike is, there was dirt and crud that was just packed in this bead all the way around this tire. And what I did to make sure that the tire had a good seal when I went to put it on is I took a drill just with a wire wheel on it and went around the bead of this rim on both sides with that wire wheel. And I did the same thing with the rear tire. The rear tire was in pretty bad disrepair. I've been having to replace multitudes of spokes on this rim, and what I'll do is when I go to adjust these spokes to make sure that this rim is straight, I'll make a video and show you how I did that. But that's where I'm at on the rear wheels, and you can see I replaced one of the rear wheel bearings on this tire, or this wheel, and the way you go about doing that is you take off the sprocket, which is pretty self-explanatory. There's a snap ring that goes right in this area here, and this is what the snap ring looks like. And you just take that snap ring off, and this sprocket will come right off. No bolts need to be taken off or anything. Just remove that snap ring and the sprocket comes right off. Okay, so that's how we get that off. And then to get at the wheel bearing, what you do is you just take a punch or a Phillips head screwdriver that you don't need anymore, stick it in this hole, and it is a counterclockwise to loosen this. So you just take a hammer and that screwdriver or punch and smack it until it breaks this loose, and then spin this bearing holder out. And then once you get the bearing holder out, underneath it is a seal which sits in this retainer, and you pull this completely out. You flip the wheel over to this side and take a wooden dowel and drive the bearing that's in there out. It shouldn't take but a couple of whacks and it'll come right out of there. And then install it back in, the bearing into this side. And what I did is I basically just took a piece of wood that was the exact dimension of that bearing and smacked it into place. I mean, it was no big deal, took a second, and it was all done. Also, I did a couple of things that are outside of the mechanics of the bike. I decided to get everything powder coated, and I have, the black for the black parts that needed powder coating, and the engine mounts, I had them powder coated with the original Tahitian red that the 82s came with, and the swing arm, I had it powder coated in the original silver, and the handlebars done in the Tahitian red, and you can see that. And then I had the frame has also been done in the Tahitian red, so the bike is going to look beautiful once it gets all put together with how the original colors are here. I've been working on saving up to get new fenders. The fenders are in pretty bad shape, and no matter how much I try to make them look nice again, it's a defeating purpose. So I'm going to have to get some new plastics for this bike. It's going to be an expense I wasn't anticipating, but the end result will be much better, and I'll let you know where I ended up getting those. Well, that's all I have. I'll make some more videos when I get to some new stuff. Hey YouTube, it's been a while since I've recorded anything on the XR200r. Right now I'm putting in some bearings in my swing arm, and I've learned a valuable lesson. I ended up having to buy new bearings for this. The original maintenance manual says to beat these bearings in, and I found that the bearings will just get destroyed while you're beating them in, so don't beat them in. What I found works, and it works like a champ, is take a piece of all thread, you know, this is 1/2 inch all thread, and get a good size washer, and you can slowly work this bearing in with the all thread, and it'll press it right in, no problem at all. Just make sure before you start doing it that you lube up the inside of that swing arm opening and the bearing itself, and make sure the bearing's nice and square before you start driving it in. And it goes in real nice and slick, and you can press the end caps in the rest of the way, and this is what an end cap looks like. I can find one here. Here's an end cap, and that end cap will seat it the rest of the way in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Here, just so you can see how easily it's driving it in there, I've got one branch on one side, one on the other, and it's really going in easy. So take this little tip from me. This works like a champ, and save yourself a little money than having to bring it to a motorcycle repair shop. This piece of all thread, I just had it laying around my shop. It was pretty easy to use. Okay, we're back with the xr200r, and what I'm doing is I've already pressed in the bearings to the swing arm, and I'm going to grease them up now. And so basically I'm just going to get some grease in there and kind of pack it inside the bearings. If your fingers are too big to do this, you know, use a pinky, but you just need to get a lot of grease in those bearings, get them good and lubricated up.
J&J Electric invites you to celebrate.
Yeah, and put a little bit more in there.
December 10th, 11th, and 12th, the whole store is 25% off. Christmas decorations, lamps, chandeliers, lighting fixtures, home decor,
get that good and lubed up in there.
For 3 days only. Plus, there'll be prices and cake for everyone. So whether you're shopping for yourself,
the next step is you put the axle in.
J&J Electric.
This is what it looks like. That goes inside that swing arm. And the kits come with a brand new one. You can see this is the brand new axle that it comes with. I didn't need it. I mic'd this one out and it was within spec, so I'm just going to reuse this one, and I'll keep that other one, and no reason to waste it right now. So basically you put this new bearing in here. It should slide right in there. You can see it's going in. That's being a little stubborn there, so okay, I'll get back to you guys. I'm going to work on this. Okay, basically when I was tapping that axle in, I had to work it a little bit to get it to, because there was so much grease in there, to work it into place. And you basically just want to have it even on both sides when you put it in through the bearings. And then you take these, my kit came with 2 brand new seals, and the seals go over top. And you can see they spin pretty freely, and you just snap them on both sides of the swing arm. Now the swing arm's ready to go in the bike, and we'll do that here next. Okay, I installed the swing arm here, and basically what I did is you kind of lift it up like this, and you just very gently work it into the frame here, and it should go in really easy, and it did. You have the seals on there, and I worked it into the frame. And then if you go too far or whatever, very gently pry the swing arm back into position, and then take the main bolt that goes through the swing arm and drive it in from this side of the bike, and very gently work it into that swing arm. And once it's into the swing arm, if you have any difficulties, you can just lightly tap it in through, and not to damage your threads, and then put your nut and your washer on this side, and that's all there is to it. I'm going to put a new Zerk fitting in right here, And once that Zerk fitting's installed, then I can go to the next step. Okay. After looking through all the videos that I had recorded, I realized that somehow it must have got deleted, the engine installation into the freshly powder coated frame and everything. I don't know how that happened, but that video is gone. I looked everywhere for it. So basically what I did is, when you're installing this frame in the bike, the first sections of the frame, or the motor that get hooked into the frame, are the bottom parts down here. If you try and do this up here, you're just going to be fighting against yourself. So the first thing you're going to want to put in are these bolts down here in the frame, and there's another set down here at the bottom, you can see. So I did those first, did these second, and then I put this bracket on, and there's another bracket that's identical on the other side that connects to the motor on the top. And then of course you've got the connection here in the front that holds the motor. So the motor is in the bike, and that's how you go about it. So you start in the back, work your way here, and then do this last. Okay, and I did that trial and error. And then also somehow the steering bearing video was also part of that same one. And basically what I did is, you have the bearing on the bottom here pressed in. So you get that bearing pressed on by a shop, and there's a seal that's underneath that bearing. Put this tree back up in here, make sure that the bearings are very generously lubricated. Put it inside your tree and drop your second bearing down inside here. And I put new races inside this sleeve as well, so there's new races inside here. And then you drop that bearing down inside and work this castle nut onto that bearing, and you basically want to make sure that this tree spins very nice and fluid without any binding, and that you'll have to check it after you use the bike a little bit to make sure that it's not too loose, but you don't want any end play in it at all. So basically that's it, guys. Sorry about the missing video, but this is about the best I could do for you now. Thank you.